Contents of the Gita summarized. Text number 20. This is chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita, text number 20. And this is one of the most famous verses. There's many famous verses in Bhagavad Gita, but this is one of the most famous. And Srila Prabhupada writes quite an elaborate purport. Let me just pop on my glasses if I can find them. I thought that would be a good idea, and they've disappeared under a bundle of things. Krishna. Anyway, we'll live without them. Here we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Najayate Mriyate Vakarajin. Nayam Budva Bhavitava Nabuya. Ajo Nitya Shashvato Yam Purano Nahanyate Hanyamane Sarire. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. For the soul there is never birth nor death at any time. He is not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Om Ganati Mirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Grave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual masters forced me to open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto His lotus feet. Now this morning we're going to have a short class. I have someone who's going to help me plant trees this morning, and they've got to start at 10 o'clock, so it's quite a tight schedule. I have to finish by 9:30, but hey, that might be good. It's often the case when we listen to a class, we're thinking Prashadam before or after, but so anyway, we're going to hear about the soul, finishing at 9:30. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Now again, I'll just mention the importance of each one of these verses. We get so familiar with them. We sing, oh, I know that. I'm not this body. I'm a spirit soul, blah, 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 blah. And we wax on and on about how we're not the body. But I don't know about you, but if you're not the body, you're the mind. If you're not the mind, just some false concept of yourself. Yeah, like that. So Krishna is not wasting his time speaking all these transcendental words. So the spirit soul is not slain when the body is slain. Purport. Qualitatively, the small, atomic, fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. Again, first sentence, Prabhupada says an amazing amount. The small, it's very small. It's so small, it's atomic. It's a fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit. Wow, what an amazing concept. And it's one with the Supreme in quality. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called the steady or kutashta. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformations. It takes its birth from the womb of the mother's body. It remains for some time, it grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. That's the body. The soul, however, does not go through such changes. The soul is not born. It seems like we're born, but because he takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there, and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present, or future. He is eternal, ever-existing, and primeval, that is, there is no trace in history of his coming into being. Sounds like he's eternal if he doesn't come into being. And eternal is something quite alien to this material existence. Continuing, Srila Prabhupada's purport. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of birth, etc. of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old, as the body does. The so-called old man therefore feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. Now I can testify to that. As an old man, it's tough to get used to because I'm so attached to the body, but we're in the position of being in an old body. And the amazing thing is I hang out with young people and I think, yeah, well, we're all the same. And occasionally what happens when you get old, people say, you go into a shop and you're looking for something and somebody says, especially the ladies will say that sometimes, oh dear, yes dear, can I help you? And I'm thinking, dear? No, I don't know this person, but they call me dear. It means you're an old person because it's a different relationship. It's quite interesting. I'm just thinking of Sukadev Goswami when he was going through the forest and the ladies were not perturbed when Vyas, following his son, calling out, my son, where are you going? You've left. So they covered themselves immediately. They were bathing at that time. So there's a difference. So when you become old, people treat you a little differently. And the amazing thing is you got to get used to treating yourself differently when you get old. So the so-called old man doesn't feel himself, he feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. So this is a bit of a giveaway for the fact that we're not the body. Continuing, the changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree nor anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. We are the byproducts of the Supreme Soul. Continuing, the byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls, and owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the 6 changes of the body. So it's worth mentioning here that the soul is categorically different from matter. So this is explained by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that there's the earth, water, fire, air, ether. There's the subtle body also called the mind, intelligence, and false ego. But then apariyamitastvanyam prakriti vidime param. We were talking about that last week, I think, that categorically different is this other energy. And Krishna says this. Besides this inferior energy of mind composing of the earth, water, etc., there is a superior nature of mind, which are the living entities who are struggling very hard in this material nature and sustaining the universe. So this is a different energy. Srila Prabhupada's purport continuing, in the Katha Upanishad 1-18, we also find a similar passage which reads, Na jayate mriyate va vipaschin, na yam kutaschin na bhavuva kaschit, ajo nitya shashvato yam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sarire. The meaning and purport of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad Gita, but here in this verse, there is one special word, vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. Prabhupada goes on to explain the soul is full of knowledge or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. So Prabhupada's giving us all these explanations to help us grasp this concept of a different energy, different from matter, different from the material body, different. So this is the difference, that there is consciousness. When we see a dead body, there's no consciousness, but consciousness appears, and Prabhupada will go on to explain. So it's one of the symptoms is consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is there for daytime. As soon as there's a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme Consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. And Krishna, I don't know if Prabhupada's going to mention that, but Krishna said that to Arjuna. So many births both you and I have had. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. You're forgetful. That's the difference between the quantitative capacity of the Supreme Soul, vastly superior. We are described as Anu, and Krishna is Vibhum, great, and we are very small. We are very small. Consciousness is prone to forget. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. This is the way to do it. That's what Prabhupada is saying. When he's forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment, not by speculating and not by concocting something. He gains enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. There are two kinds of souls, and here it is here. Namely, the minute particle soul, Anuatma, and the super soul, Vibhu Atma. This is also confirmed in the Katha Upanishad 1-20 in this way. Anoraniyam mahato mahiyan atmasya jantor nihito guhayam tam akratu pasyati vita shoko datu prashadhan mahimanam atmana. Translation, or yes. Both the super soul, the Paramatma, and the atomic soul, the Jivatma, are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentation can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. So this, we'll come to this, back to this in a second. Continuing. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters. And Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna, or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. So this is the great science of the soul. And one of the qualifications we're hearing here, Srila Prabhupada saying from the Katha Upanishad, that both the living entity and the supersoul are there within the heart, and that one can, and only one who has become free from all material desires, that's society, desires as well as kanchati, as well as lamentations. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na soshati na kanshati samaha sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Krishna says towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita. One who is thus transcendently situated can at once realize the Supreme Brahman in all its features, Brahmati, Paramatmati, Bhagavanati. And when he understands that actually there's the Jivatma, and there's the Paramatma, and there is Brahman, and there's also the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, then Mad Bhaktim Lapate Param. Then he can enter into this higher understanding of not just living in the material world as a body, or transcending that, seeing the futility of that, seeing the temporary nature of it, and speculating to understand higher causes, and aspects of our existence. One can come to the level of Brahman realization. The yogis performing great austerities and taking the senses away from the sense objects, withdrawing them within, meditating within, and coming to the highest level of understanding the Paramatma, the Supersoul within. But then there is Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, although expanding himself unlimited to be within every one of the atoms scattered throughout the whole many trillions of universes, is totally inconceivable. But he has that potential, so he's a little better than us. Others were thinking, Duryodhana was thinking, he's maybe a little better than me, this Krishna. He's got a bit of mystic power. Shishupal was never happy with Krishna from the day he was born to the day he passed away, although it seems that at the very end he was quite attracted by Krishna's power and greatness and beauty. So that Bhagavan feature of the Lord is only revealed to the devotees of the Lord when Krishna is pleased. I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am always covered by my eternal creative potency. So this is the whole pastime of the Lord, that he is created everything for his pleasure, his ever-expanding pleasure, including the Jivatma. Just like we get the idea reflected here of the parents wanting to expand through the male and the female connecting to create other. We heard about the body. The body comes into existence, it grows, then it produces byproducts. So the byproducts are the children, and at least a while ago, not so much these days, but maybe there's an inkling of that, to increase the pleasure. So one wants to expand. You see this when one wants to expand and then enjoy pleasure with that small little child. So the child is helpless. We know that when the child comes into this world. When all of us came into this world, we are totally, completely helpless. And the parents are hoping that they can enjoy an increased variety of relationship with the child, looking after the child, taking everything for it, seeing the child's happy. All of this is a reflection of Krishna's desire to expand his pleasure unlimitedly. So Krishna has that capacity. But this revelation is reserved for the devotees. I just need to check. I'm just checking time. Remember, I have to finish at 9:30. I mentioned at the very beginning, we're planting trees today, and one of my neighbors just saw me planting a few trees, and he came over and he said, "Look, tomorrow I'm coming. I can come at 10 o'clock." So I said, yes, and I forgot, oh gosh, I've got to give the class, be gone by then. So we have to finish at 9:30 so I can get back, and we're going to plant some trees this morning. So I was really quite happy about that. Okay, so where are we? Yes, so Krishna is the fountainhead of the Supersoul also, and all of this is disclosed. So that feature we mentioned, Brahmati, Paramatmati, Bhagavanati. So this is rarely achieved, and it is only achieved by the association with the pure devotees of the Lord. And that we think, pure devotee, Prabhupada was pure devotee, and we hear that there's other pure devotees before him, and there's obviously other pure devotees here and there, so there must be a lot of pure devotees around, and we read about the activities of pure devotees, and again we get a little familiar with the whole thing. But Brahmanda Brahmate Kona Bhagavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasad Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. I was reading somewhere yesterday actually that this is not to be underestimated, how rare the opportunity of getting the Bhakti Lata Bija. It was actually a book called The Six Goswamis. Satyaraj had put that book together, and it was Lord Chaitanya's instructions to Rupa Goswami. So for 10 days continually he was instructing, and that was one of the subject matters that he was explaining, the rare opportunity to gain the Bhakti Lata Bija. And then he was going on to explain that, okay, again, so this familiarity is the biggest problem that we have actually when we think about it more and more. because it's rare to get the Bhakti Lata Bija, that seed of devotion, very, very uncommon, by the mercy of great souls like Srila Prabhupada, who comes and gives that opportunity. Come on, take it. Take that prasadam. Take this chanting of Hare Krishna. Take this book. Take some aspect of devotional life. I remember when we first joined, I was saying to my son the other day that when we first joined, it was every time you drank water, we used to say, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. And somehow we've become familiar with that and we forget. So this Bhakti Lata Bija is very, very rare, and we get it, and then we become familiar with it. And what happens is we start to water the weeds. Lord Chaitanya was explaining to to Rupa Goswami that the weeds are also being watered at the same time, and we're not, what would you say? We're not perceptive enough or alert enough, conscious enough. Prabhupada would say, Krishna consciousness first become conscious. So one aspect of Krishna consciousness is to see that this familiarity creeps in. That's the way, because we're in this atmosphere of the material world, and we are relentlessly bombarded with the material energy which dictate to us that you are this body. You need to eat. You need to sleep. You have to have sex, pleasure, and enjoy your senses, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and also sustaining your life. It's a big one, actually. We don't think about it so much, but so much energy goes into that defense of the body, and then it's the defense of the family, children, community, nation, national defense, and so on. So this is the activities that seem more natural to us, and they will constantly come in more and more and more. So a devotee of the Lord is always guarding to make sure that his material life goes on parallelly in a way with his spiritual life. You can't neglect the material things, but you also have to make sure that the other track is going on in an equal way, and that it is not being disturbed. Again, I've got to try and check out that time. Oh, we're okay. So we've got 7 more minutes. What I'm going to do is just suggest, if any, I'll speak a little more, but while I'm doing that, if you have anything that we can answer, or should I say even more importantly, if you want to share something, just pop it in the chat box. So anything that's here in Srila Prabhupada's purport, the tendency to become familiar with all aspects of spiritual existence. We become familiar with the material things too. Just pop it, your reflection, into the chat box. So that's also the most amazing thing, because everything that's manifest, from the sun that's shining just now, to the trees that are growing, the grass, the rain that's falling, to the fingernails that I had to trim the other day, everything is miraculous, but we become familiar with it. And we think, oh yeah, what's the big deal? Sun's there, trees are there. What's the big, what are you talking about? We're talking about Krishna's inconceivable energy, and how if we can become Krishna conscious, that Krishna says, Sasi Shurya, I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am the sacred syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the ability in man or woman or animal, whatever species of life. By me, everything is coming into existence. By me, everything is maintained, and everything is destroyed, and ultimately by me. So the more we hear, as Srila Prabhupada said at the end, from Krishna, Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. We forget it all the time, both material and spiritual. Ultimately, everything is spiritual because it belongs to Krishna, but it's manifest in different ways, either as material nature or the spiritual nature. So our business is to jump across, reconnect to the spiritual nature, and by that connection to the spiritual nature, we will be able to perceive the spiritual in everything. And if we can do it all the time, that would be really good. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened, Arjuna does, and all of us, by Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. So this verse Again, Najayate Mriyate Vakarachin, Nayambut Vabulita Vanabuya, Ajo Nicham Shashvatam Parano, Yahanyate Hanyamane Serere. For the soul there is never birth nor death. Wow, what great news. There's no birth and death. Huh? So all we have to do is get out of this material body, which is destined to die, and guess what? It's destined to take birth again, that soul, if we cannot learn the art of coming out of this difficult situation called the material world. He is not coming to be. It used to be translated, for the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing and undying. He's not slain when the body is slain. So we're not supposed to lament for this perishable body, but we're supposed to be joyful. Okay, I'm going to finish there. If anyone has got any, let me see. Yep, the sun's coming. It's reckon it's Krishna, so it's all good. Where is that little chat box? So please, if you can, reflect something. It's a good thing. They say, I'll borrow from Vaisheshika Prabhu, sharing is caring. I don't know if he started it, but anyway, it's a well-known one. Sharing is caring, it shows, because that way we can go a little deeper into the subject matter. Okay, so there's no one has jumped in there, boots and all, or should we say chapels and all, or should we say bare feet and all. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in, either now in the morning. Nice to see you all, and also some people do pick up later in the day or days ahead. So I will finish at that point and go and plant some trees as mentioned previously. Grantaraj Srimad Bhakti Ki Jai. His Divine Grace of Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnav Brinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.